The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't announce itself with thunder and lightning. Sometimes it comes on a Tuesday afternoon with your hand pressed against a cold window, watching your dead husband pour wine for your sister in her kitchen. But let me back up. That morning started like any nightmare you've seen in movies. 2 police officers at my door at 6 a.m. Their faces said everything before their mouths did. My husband Gregory was dead. Car accident on Highway 95. Instant, they said. Didn't suffer, they said. Like that was supposed to help. I remember my knees giving out. I remember the female officer catching me, her uniform rough against my cheek. I remember thinking this couldn't be real because Gregory had just texted me 2 hours ago saying he loved me. The phone was still in my hand. I showed them the message like it was proof he couldn't be dead. They gave me a card for a victim services counselor. They told me someone from the medical examiner's office would contact me. They told me how sorry they were. Then they left, and I was alone in our apartment with the morning sun coming through the blinds like nothing in the world had changed. The next 3 days blurred together. Phone calls. Paperwork. My sister Amber holding me while I cried. My best friend Yvonne bringing food I couldn't eat. Gregory's mother flying in from Atlanta, her face aged 10 years in 10 hours. Everyone kept saying how strong I was being. How well I was holding up. I wasn't holding up anything. I was floating in some dark space between reality and nightmare, waiting to wake up. The funeral was set for Friday. I picked out his suit, the navy one he wore to our wedding anniversary dinner. I wrote an obituary that didn't capture even 1% of what I thought our marriage was. I chose flowers. White roses. Gregory always said white roses meant new beginnings. The irony would hit me later. Thursday night I couldn't sleep. I sat on our bed, surrounded by sympathy cards, trying to figure out how to exist in a world without him. We'd been married for 7 years. Together for 9. He was supposed to be my forever. My phone buzzed at 11:30. Unknown number. I almost didn't look, but something made me pick it up. The message had no words. Just an address. Amber's address. And then, check the backyard window. Trust me. My hands shook. This had to be spam. Some sick scam targeting grieving widows. I should delete it. Block the number. Go to sleep. But I didn't. I got dressed. Jeans, hoodie, sneakers. I felt crazy doing it. What was I doing? My husband's funeral was in 12 hours and I was driving across town because of an anonymous text message. Except my gut was screaming at me. That same gut feeling I'd been ignoring for months. Those late nights Gregory said he was working. The new cologne. The way he'd started showering as soon as he got home. The credit card bill with charges at restaurants I'd never been to. I'd pushed it all down. Told myself I was paranoid. Told myself he loved me. Told myself I was lucky to have him. Amber's house was dark when I pulled up. Her car was in the driveway. And next to it, another car. A dark sedan that made my heart stop because I knew that car. I knew that license plate. It was Gregory's car. The car that was supposed to be a crushed wreck on Highway 95. I sat in my car for 5 minutes trying to make sense of it. Maybe they'd towed it here? Maybe Amber was dealing with his things? There had to be an explanation. I got out. The street was quiet. 1 a.m. in a suburban neighborhood where everyone was asleep. I walked up the driveway, my heart beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. The house was dark except for a light in the back. Kitchen maybe. I went around the side, through the gate Amber never locked, into her backyard. I could hear voices. Laughing. The kitchen window had the blinds half open. I crouched behind her rose bushes, the thorns catching my hoodie, and I looked inside. Gregory stood by the counter. Alive. Not a scratch on him. He wore jeans and a t-shirt I'd bought him for his birthday. He was pouring wine into 2 glasses, smiling at something Amber said. My sister sat at the kitchen table, her feet tucked under her, wearing one of those silk robes she loved. She looked happy. Relaxed. They looked like a couple having a normal evening at home. I watched my dead husband hand my sister a glass of wine. I watched her stand up and wrap her arms around his waist. I watched him kiss the top of her head, casual and familiar, like they'd done this 1,000 times. My legs gave out. I sat hard on the ground, dirt and dead leaves under me, one hand clamped over my mouth to keep from making a sound. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But it was. It absolutely was. Gregory took out his phone. Even from outside I could see his face change. Serious now. He showed Amber something on the screen. She read it, then burst out laughing. The sound carried through the window, clear and bright. The insurance company confirmed? Amber said. They're really going to pay out? My blood turned to ice. 500,000, Gregory said. His voice. God, his voice. I'd been crying over his voice for 3 days, thinking I'd never hear it again. Plus the joint accounts. Plus the house when we sell it. We just have to wait a few more months before I can resurface. Let the investigation close. Then we're free. Amber clinked her glass against his. To being free. And to stupid Natalie, who never suspected a thing. They both drank. They both smiled. And I realized I'd been living in a completely different reality than the one that actually existed. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. I opened the video camera. And I recorded everything I could, crouched in my sister's backyard, while my dead husband and my only sister celebrated destroying my life. When I had enough, I backed away slowly, got to my car, drove home on autopilot, my mind completely blank. I walked into our apartment. Gregory's clothes were still in the hamper. His coffee cup was still in the sink from Tuesday morning. The sympathy cards were still all over the bed. I sat down at the kitchen table as the sun started to rise. Friday morning. His funeral was at 2 p.m. I wasn't going to the funeral. I had something much more important to do. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Gregory's hand on Amber's waist. Her laughing at me being stupid. His smile when he talked about the insurance money. $500,000. That's what I was worth dead to them. Well, not even dead. Just destroyed. Just ruined. Just believing my husband had died while he sipped wine in my sister's kitchen. The video sat on my phone like evidence of a crime. I watched it 6 times before dawn, making sure it was real. Making sure I hadn't hallucinated the whole thing from grief and stress. Nope. Crystal clear. High definition betrayal. At 7 a.m. my phone started ringing. Gregory's mother. The funeral home. The church. My boss calling to see if I needed anything. I ignored them all. I needed to think. The smart play was to go straight to the police. Show them the video. Get Gregory arrested. Watch this whole scam fall apart. But something stopped me. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was the need to understand the full scope of what they'd done. Maybe I wanted them to suffer more than just getting arrested. I made coffee. Extra strong. My hands were steady now. The shock was wearing off and something else was sliding into place. Something cold and clear. I pulled up my laptop and started searching. Private investigators in the city. I found one with good reviews and a website that didn't look shady. Jerome Patterson, former police detective. I called the number. He answered on the 3rd ring. Patterson Investigations. I need to hire you, I said. Today. Right now. There must have been something in my voice because he didn't ask questions. I can meet you in an hour. Coffee shop on 5th and Main. I'll be there. I changed clothes. Black dress for the funeral I wasn't attending. Pearls Gregory bought me for Christmas. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. 24 hours ago, I was planning my husband's funeral. Now I was planning something else entirely. Jerome Patterson was a big man, early 50s, with gray at his temples and eyes that looked like they'd seen everything. We sat in the back corner of a mostly empty coffee shop. He ordered black coffee. I ordered something sweet I wouldn't drink. Tell me what's going on, he said. So I did. All of it. The police at my door. The funeral planning. The mysterious text. Finding Gregory alive. The video on my phone. I showed him the recording. He watched it twice, his face giving nothing away. Do you know who sent you that text? He asked. No idea. Someone who knew what was happening and wanted you to know. He sat back. Could be a friend. Could be someone with a conscience. Could be someone who wants to see them go down. Doesn't matter right now. What matters is what you want to do. I want to know everything, I said. I want to know how long this has been going on. I want to know who else is involved. I want every piece of evidence we can get. And then I want them destroyed. Jerome smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I can work with that. But you need to understand something. If we do this right, you can't react. You can't confront them. You have to play the grieving widow perfectly until we're ready to move. Can you do that? I thought about Amber holding me while I cried. About Gregory's mother calling me her daughter. About everyone at that funeral service this afternoon who would believe he was really gone. Yes, I said. I can do that. Good. I'll need access to your bank accounts, credit cards, phone records. Anything Gregory had access to. I'll need to know his habits, his friends, his work situation. Give me a week and I'll give you answers. We worked out the details. His fee was steep, but I didn't care. I had access to savings Gregory didn't know about. Money my grandmother left me that I'd kept separate. Emergency fund. Turns out this qualified as an emergency. By 9 a.m. Jerome was on the case. By 10 a.m. I was back home, getting ready for a funeral I had no intention of attending. Yvonne called. "Honey, I'm outside. Let me drive you to the church." "I can't do it," I said, letting my voice break. "Not hard." Everything felt broken. "I can't see him in that casket, Yvonne. I can't." "Oh, sweetie." She sounded close to tears herself. "No one would blame you. This is too much. Do you want me to come up? Sit with you?" "No. I just need to be alone. Please, tell everyone I'm sorry." She promised she would. She promised to check on me later. She told me she loved me. I wondered if Amber would even notice I wasn't there. Or if she'd be too busy texting Gregory about how everything was going according to plan. I spent the afternoon going through every piece of paper in our apartment. Bank statements. Credit card bills. Insurance policies. Gregory was good, I'd give him that. Everything looked normal on the surface. But when you knew what to look for, cracks started showing. A withdrawal of $5,000 3 months ago. Gregory said it was for a work trip. There was no work trip on his calendar. Charges at a hotel downtown. He said it was for his friend's bachelor party. I never met that friend. A new life insurance policy he'd taken out 6 months ago, right before his company offered voluntary increases. $500,000 like he'd said. With me as the beneficiary. I'd signed the papers without thinking twice because why wouldn't I trust my husband? That's what they'd counted on. Trust. Well, the fact that I'd never suspect the two people I was closest to would team up to destroy me. My phone buzzed. Text from Amber. "I'm so sorry you couldn't make it to the funeral. It was beautiful. Gregory would have loved it. Come over tomorrow? I don't want you to be alone." I stared at those words until they stopped making sense. Then I typed back, "Thank you. Tomorrow sounds good. I love you." Her response was instant. A heart emoji. I put the phone down before I threw it across the room. By evening, Jerome called. I pulled Gregory's phone records. "You need to see this." He sent me a file. Dozens of calls between Gregory and Amber. Not just in the last week. Not just in the last month. Going back 2 years. Hundreds of calls. Thousands of texts. 2 years. They'd been planning this, or at least involved with each other, for 2 years. I'd been living a complete lie for 2 years. "There's more," Jerome said. "I found the medical examiner who signed Gregory's death certificate. Guy named Russell Hobbs. Turns out he's got some gambling debts. 10 grand at an illegal casino downtown. Debt was paid off 4 days ago. Cash. Gregory paid him," I said. "That's my guess. I'm working on getting proof. Also looking into the accident report. Something's not right about it. Photos look staged. Timing is convenient. I'll have more for you in a few days." After he hung up, I sat in the dark apartment and felt something shift inside me. The grief was still there. Not for Gregory dying because he wasn't dead, but for the Gregory the first thought I knew. That man was dead. He'd never existed in the first place. What was left was just anger. Pure, cold, clarifying anger. And anger, I was learning, was so much more useful than grief. I moved through the next week like an actress in a play I didn't audition for. Grieving widow in the apartment. Accepting casseroles from neighbors who looked at me with pity. Thanking people for sympathy cards. Crying at appropriate moments. At night, I met with Jerome and learned exactly how deep this betrayal went. "The accident was definitely staged," Jerome said, spreading photos across the table of the coffee shop that had become our regular meeting spot. "See this? The car they used was already damaged. Bought it from a salvage yard 3 weeks ago. Registered under a fake name. They drove it to that spot on Highway 95, called it in as an accident, and Gregory disappeared before first responders arrived." "But the body," I said. "The police said there was a body. They had me identify it." Jerome's face darkened. "Yeah, that's where it gets really bad. They used a John Doe from the medical examiner's office. Homeless man who died of exposure 2 weeks before Gregory's supposed accident. No family. No one looking for him. Russell Hobbs, the crooked examiner, substituted the records. Made it look like the DNA matched Gregory's dental records." My stomach turned. They used a dead homeless man? And got paid well for it. I traced cash deposits to Hobbs totaling $15,000. Came from an account Amber opened 6 months ago under her business name. Small graphic design firm she runs. Easy to hide money in a business account. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, needing something solid to hold on to. How did they even think of this? How do people wake up one day and decide to fake a death? Desperate people do desperate things. Or greedy people. Sometimes both. Jerome pulled up something on his tablet. I looked into Gregory's finances. He's drowning in debt you don't know about. Gambling mostly. Online poker. Sports betting. He's into some bad people for $60,000. They've been threatening him for months. That hit me like a physical blow. 60,000? I handle our budget. I would have noticed. He's been hiding it. Taking out credit cards in his name only. Using fake addresses. Getting cash advances. It spiraled. And when desperate people get desperate enough, they do things like this. So this wasn't about hurting me. It was about money. It's always about money. Jerome's voice was gentle. Or power. Or both. In this case, they saw an opportunity. You have savings. You have that inheritance from your grandmother. You're the beneficiary on his life insurance. You own the apartment together. If he dies, it all goes to you. And if you're destroyed and grieving, dependent on your sister for support, she controls you. Controls the money. I let that sink in. What happens after the insurance pays out? When I'm supposed to use that money? I imagine Amber will suggest investments. Financial planners she knows. Ways to make the money grow. Only the investments will be fake. The financial planners will be in on it. By the time you realize what's happening, the money will be gone. Offshore accounts. Impossible to trace. And you'll have nothing. While Gregory gets a new identity and starts over somewhere else. Exactly. Probably out of the country. Somewhere without extradition. He's already got fake documents in the works. I found messages between him and a forger in Miami. New passport, new driver's license, new social security number. He'll be someone else entirely. I took a long breath. Let it out. What about Amber? Does she go with him? Jerome hesitated. That's unclear. Some of their messages suggest yes. Others suggest she stays here, plays the grieving sister, and moves your money to them gradually. They might be planning to double-cross each other eventually. No honor among thieves. Good, I said. That makes this easier. Makes what easier? Destroying them. I met his eyes. You said you found the forger in Miami? Can you get copies of everything he made for Gregory? Documents, photos, communications? Already done. I've got a friend in Florida who handles these things. Everything's documented. And the medical examiner? Can we prove he took bribes? Working on it. I've got someone inside his office pulling records. Should have confirmation by next week. What about phone records? Emails? Anything that shows planning? Jerome smiled. Oh, they've been sloppy. So much evidence. Text messages about the plan. Emails about timing. They even took photos celebrating after the fake funeral. Amber posted them on a private Instagram account with a caption about new beginnings. Deleted it after an hour, but nothing's ever really deleted. I pulled it from the cache. You showed me. Amber and Gregory, glasses raised, huge smiles. The timestamp was Friday night. Hours after people stood in a church mourning him. I looked at that photo for a long time. Memorizing it. Burning it into my brain. How much time do we need? I asked. For what? To build a case that puts them both in prison for a long time. Jerome sat back, studying me. You sure that's what you want? Prison's hard to guarantee. Good lawyers, sympathetic jury, they could get reduced sentences. Probation maybe. Out in a few years. What's the alternative? We could go public. Expose them. Ruin their reputations. Make sure everyone knows what they did. Sometimes shame and social destruction hurt more than prison time. I thought about it. Thought about Amber's friends seeing those photos. Gregory's family learning he faked his death. Everyone who came to that funeral learning they'd been played. Both, I decided. I want both. I want them in prison and I want everyone to know why. That's a big undertaking. I've got time. And money. And motivation. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. I'm going to move everything I can into accounts they can't access. Every penny. I want them to think they're getting the life insurance payout and then realize they're getting nothing. That'll make them desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. Good. I want them making mistakes. I want them panicking. And when they panic enough to slip up, we'll be there to catch them. Jerome nodded slowly. All right. But you need to be careful. If they suspect you know anything, they could run. Disappear. We'd never find them. They won't suspect. I'm the stupid, grieving widow, remember? I'm so broken I can't even function. I need my sister's help with everything. I smiled and it felt sharp. I'll be so convincing they'll never see it coming. Over the next 3 days I did exactly that. I opened new accounts at a different bank. Transferred funds slowly in amounts that wouldn't trigger alerts. I moved stocks and bonds. I called my job and asked for a leave of absence, citing grief. My boss was sympathetic, told me to take all the time I needed. I needed time, but not for grieving. I needed time to dismantle my life with Gregory so thoroughly that when this all came out, he'd get nothing. I met with a lawyer. Not the family lawyer Gregory's mother suggested. A new one. Sharp, expensive, specializing in fraud cases. Patricia Monroe. Early 40s, dressed like she meant business, with a reputation for never losing. I told her everything. Showed her everything. The video. Jerome's investigation. All of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and smiled. This is the most clear-cut case of insurance fraud I've seen in 15 years, she said. Add conspiracy, forgery, identity theft, bribery of a government official. If we play this right, they'll both be looking at 10 to 20 years. Minimum. How do we play it right? Let them make the first move. Let them file the insurance claim. Let them think it's working. Then we hit them with everything at once. Federal charges, state charges, civil suits. Bury them in so much legal trouble they'll never dig out. How long until they file? Usually about 30 days after death. They'll want to wait long enough that it doesn't look suspicious, but not so long that the insurance company starts asking questions. My guess is they'll file in the next 2 weeks. And we just wait? And we document everything. Every communication. Every move. We build a case so airtight that no defense attorney in the world can crack it. She pulled out a contract. I'll need a retainer. 20,000. This is going to be complicated. I signed without hesitation. 20,000 now for justice later? Worth every penny. That night, Amber came over with Thai food and that same sympathetic face she'd been wearing all week. How are you holding up? She asked, unpacking containers of pad thai and spring rolls. I don't know, I said, letting my voice waver. Some moments I forget he's gone. I'll think of something I want to tell him and reach for my phone. Then I remember and it hits me all over again. Amber hugged me. Her perfume was different. Something expensive and new. Probably bought with money she'd skimmed from somewhere. It's going to get easier, she said. I promise. Time helps. Time helps. Like she knew. Like she wasn't counting down the days until the insurance paid out. We ate dinner. She told me about her work, some big client she'd landed. Kept checking her phone and smiling at messages. Probably Gregory, texting her from wherever he was hiding. You should come stay with me for a while, she said. This apartment has too many memories. It's not healthy being here alone. Maybe, I said. I just feel close to him here. Like if I leave, I'll lose the last pieces of him. Her face did something complicated. Almost looked guilty. Almost looked human. Well, whenever you're ready, she said. My door's always open. After she left, I found the listening device Jerome had given me stuck under my coffee table. Tiny thing barely visible. Amber had planted it while I was in the bathroom. They were monitoring me, making sure I was staying broken and clueless. Perfect. Let them listen. Let them hear exactly what I wanted them to hear. I picked up my phone and called Yvonne. Put it on speaker. Loud enough for the device to catch every word. I can't stop crying, I told her. I miss him so much. I don't know how to do this. Yvonne's voice was gentle and sad. She didn't know she was part of the performance. One day at a time, honey. That's all you can do. The insurance company called today, I said. About the payout. I couldn't even deal with it. I just told them to process everything. I can't think about money right now. I heard Yvonne say something comforting. I made myself cry, real tears, because the emotions were all still there, just redirected. Not grief for Gregory. Rage at what they'd done. Sounded the same. After I hung up, I sat in silence, imagining Amber and Gregory listening to that recording, congratulating themselves, thinking they'd won. They had no idea the trap was already closing around them. Time moved in a strange way after that. Days felt like weeks. Every interaction with Amber was a performance. Every phone call with Gregory's family was an act. I was living two lives. Broken widow on the surface. Strategic destroyer underneath. Jerome worked around the clock. Every morning, I woke up to new reports. Bank transactions. GPS data from Amber's phone showing she drove to a storage unit across town every 3 days. Photos of Gregory very much alive, leaving that storage unit with bags of supplies. He's staying there, Jerome said during one of our meetings. Unit 17. Been rented for 4 months under a fake business name. Same account Amber used to pay off the medical examiner. Can we get inside? Not legally. But I've got eyes on it. Cameras across the street. We'll know every time he comes and goes. Patricia, my lawyer, was building the case file. It was already 3 inches thick. Documentation of every lie, every forged signature, every dollar they'd stolen or planned to steal. The insurance company is processing the claim, she told me on a Thursday afternoon. They should issue payment in about a week. Once that money hits your account, we make our move. Why wait for the money? Because attempting to collect fraudulent insurance is a federal crime. Right now, we can prove conspiracy and fraud. Once they actually take that money, we can prove completed insurance fraud. The charges stack up. The sentences get longer. I like the sound of longer sentences. Yvonne started getting suspicious around day 10. Not of Gregory and Amber. Of me. You seem different, she said when she came over with groceries I didn't need. I don't know. More focused. I made sure to look exhausted, which wasn't hard. I wasn't sleeping much. The grief comes and goes. Sometimes I feel okay. Then I feel guilty for feeling okay. She bought it. Hugged me. Told me that was normal. What wasn't normal was the text message I got that night from the same unknown number that had sent me to Amber's house. They're getting impatient. Watch them closely. I stared at that message for a long time. Someone out there was helping me. Someone knew what Gregory and Amber were doing and wanted me to know. Oh. I asked Jerome to trace it. He came back frustrated. Burner phone. Paid for with cash. Used for exactly 2 messages, both to you. Then turned off. Whoever it is, they know how to stay hidden. Someone who wants to see them caught but doesn't want to be involved, I said. Maybe someone Gregory owes money to? Someone who knows about the gambling debts. Maybe. Or maybe someone with a personal grudge. Either way, they're right. Amber and Gregory are getting restless. I've picked up conversations where they talk about moving up the timeline. They don't want to wait the full 60 days before Gregory resurfaces. What's the rush? The people he owes money to are getting aggressive. Threatening him. Even in hiding, they found him. He needs to pay them off and get out of the country fast. This was it. The pressure point. The place where desperate people made fatal mistakes. Let them rush, I said. Let them panic. The more mistakes they make, the easier our job gets. But I had to be careful. Had to make sure they still saw me as the easy mark. The broken widow who wasn't paying attention. I called Amber the next day. I need your help with something. The insurance company needs me to sign papers. I can't read them. The words just blur. Can you come over and help me? She was at my door in 20 minutes. Eager. Ready to help her stupid sister sign away her future. I let her read through the papers. Let her explain what they meant in simple terms, like I was a child who couldn't understand. Let her pat my hand and tell me it was all going to be okay. Once this money comes through, we'll invest it somewhere safe, she said. I know a financial advisor. Really good. He'll make sure you're taken care of. I bet he would. Taken care of right into an offshore account I'd never see again. Thank you, I said, signing the papers with a shaking hand. I don't know what I'd do without you. She hugged me. That's what sisters are for. After she left, I allowed myself 5 minutes to shake with rage. 5 minutes to imagine all the ways I wanted to make her suffer. Then I pulled myself together and called Patricia. Papers are signed. How long until the money transfers? 3 to 5 business days. I've already alerted the FBI. They'll be ready to move the moment we give the word. FBI. Federal charges. This was real now. This was happening. I spent the next 3 days in a strange state of calm. Like standing in the eye of a hurricane. Chaos on all sides, but in the center, perfect stillness. I cleaned the apartment. Packed up Gregory's things in boxes labeled for donation. Each shirt, each pair of shoes, each stupid knick-knack he'd collected. Every item a reminder of a life that had been a complete lie. His mother called. Have you thought about what you'll do with the apartment? It might be too hard to stay there. I'm thinking about it, I said. No decisions yet. I'd already decided. I was keeping the apartment. Gregory's name was on the deed, but legally, dead men don't own property. It would transfer to me entirely. One more thing he'd lose. The insurance money hit my account on a Tuesday morning. $500,000. I watched the number appear on my banking app and felt nothing. It was just digits. It meant nothing except evidence. I called Patricia. It's done. The money's here. Perfect. Don't touch it. Don't move it. Let it sit there. We need to give them time to make their next move. I didn't have to wait long. Amber called that afternoon. The money came through. Oh honey, I'm so happy for you. I mean, I know it doesn't bring Gregory back, but at least you'll be financially stable. I don't want it, I said, forcing tears. I'd give every penny back to have him here. I know, sweetie. I know. But he'd want you taken care of. Listen, I'm coming over. We need to talk about next steps. Financial planning. Making this money work for you. She arrived with her financial advisor. A man named Tom Preston. Slick suit. Fake smile. Handshake like a dead fish. He spread papers across my coffee table. Investment opportunities. Trust funds. Complicated words designed to confuse. If you put the full amount into this diversified portfolio, he said, we're looking at significant returns. 12 to 15% annually. It was all lies. Jerome had already looked into Tom Preston. Not a real financial advisor. Fake credentials. Partner in Amber and Gregory's scheme. The money would go into an account he controlled. Then disappear. It sounds good, I said slowly. But it's a lot to process. Can I think about it? Amber's smile tightened. Of course. But don't wait too long. These opportunities don't stay available forever. I bet they didn't. After they left, I called Patricia. They made their move. Fake financial advisor. Tried to get me to sign over the full amount. Did you sign anything? No. Good. We're almost ready. FBI wants to move this week. You okay with that? I thought about everything they'd done. The fake death. The funeral. The manipulation. The sister I thought I knew planning to rob me blind. The husband I'd loved turning out to be a complete stranger. More than okay, I said. Let's end this. That night, I got another text from the unknown number. Just 3 words. Justice is coming. I typed back, who are you? No response. The number went dark again. But they were right. Justice was coming. And it was coming fast. The memorial service was my idea. A month after Gregory's death, a gathering to celebrate his life. I told everyone I needed closure. Needed to say goodbye properly since I'd missed the funeral. Really, I needed Gregory to see how thoroughly he'd fooled everyone. Needed him to feel safe and confident. Needed him cocky enough to make one last mistake. We held it at a community center near our apartment. 50 people showed up. Gregory's family. Our friends. People from his work. Amber, of course, playing the supportive sister. And somewhere outside, in a car with tinted windows, Gregory watched through the cameras Jerome had set up. I knew he was there. Jerome confirmed it an hour before the service started. I wore black. The same dress from the funeral I'd skipped. Pearls. Hair pulled back. I looked like grief in human form. Thank you all for coming, I said to the gathered crowd. My voice broke in the right places. Gregory was everything to me. My best friend. My partner. The love of my life. Losing him has been the hardest thing I've ever faced. Amber stood in the front row, dabbing her eyes. Playing her part perfectly. If I hadn't known better, I would have believed she was genuinely sad. But I'm not alone, I continued. I have people who love me. My sister Amber, who's been my rock through this. Staying with me. Helping me figure out how to move forward. I don't know what I'd do without her. Amber smiled through fake tears. The crowd made sympathetic sounds. Gregory's mother stood up. I want to say something if that's okay. Of course, I said. She walked to the front. A small woman made smaller by grief. She'd lost weight in the past month. Her hand shook. My son was a good man, she said. He loved Natalie with his whole heart. I know he's watching over her now, making sure she's okay. Gregory, if you can hear me, I love you. I miss you. And I promise I'll take care of your wife. She's my daughter now. I had to look away. This woman was genuinely destroyed. Her pain was real. And Gregory was parked outside, listening to his mother cry over his fake death, feeling nothing but satisfaction. That's when I knew I was doing the right thing. Not just for me. For everyone else he'd hurt. After the service, people mingled. Ate the catered food. Shared stories about Gregory. Half the stories were probably made up, memories distorted by death. That's what death does. Makes mediocre people into saints. Amber pulled me aside. You did great. I know how hard that was. I just need this chapter to close, I said. I need to move on. Speaking of moving on, have you thought more about those investments? Tom can still get you into that portfolio. But the window's closing. I'll sign the papers tomorrow, I said. You're right. Gregory would want me taken care of. Her eyes lit up. Really? Oh honey, that's such a good decision. You won't regret it. I wouldn't. But she definitely would. Yvonne cornered me near the dessert table. How are you really doing? Better than I was, I said. Some days are harder than others. I worry about you. You seem so calm. Sometimes grief comes out sideways, you know? Delayed. I'm just trying to take it day by day. She hugged me. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I would. Right after Gregory and Amber were arrested. The service ended around 8. People filtered out slowly, each person stopping to hug me or share one more story. By 9 it was just me and the catering staff cleaning up. I helped fold chairs. Threw away paper plates. Normal tasks that felt surreal. Like being an actress who forgot to step off stage. My phone buzzed. Jerome. He's gone. Left about 20 minutes ago. Back to the storage unit. Amber's texting him right now. They're celebrating. Celebrating what? You agreed to sign the investment papers. They think they've won. Good, I said. Let them celebrate. They've earned it. I drove home through city streets that felt strange. Like I was seeing everything for the last time before a major change. The coffee shop where Gregory and I had our first date. The park where he proposed. The movie theater where we saw terrible films and laughed at all the wrong parts. None of it had been real. Or maybe it had been real for me but not for him. Maybe I'd been living in a one-person marriage the whole time. The apartment felt empty when I walked in. I turned on all the lights, something I rarely did anymore. Made tea I didn't drink. Sat on the couch and waited. Patricia called at 10. FBI is moving tomorrow. They'll arrest Amber at her house. Gregory at the storage unit. Simultaneous. They don't want either one warning the other. What do I need to do? Nothing. Stay home. Stay safe. Let them handle it. You'll give your statement after they're in custody. That's it? After everything, I just sit here? You've done your part. You've been brave and smart and incredibly strong. Now let the system do its job. I wanted to argue. Wanted to be there when they snapped handcuffs on Amber. Wanted to see Gregory's face when he realized I'd known all along. But Patricia was right. This wasn't a movie. I wasn't the hero bursting in at the last second. I was the victim who'd been smart enough to build a case, and now I had to let professionals finish it. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Laid in bed watching the ceiling. Thinking about tomorrow. Thinking about the moment they'd realize everything had fallen apart. Around midnight, another text from the unknown number. You did good. He never deserved you. I stared at those words. This person knew everything. Had known from the beginning. Had been helping me without revealing themselves. Thank you, I typed. For the first message. For warning me. I'd still be in the dark without you. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, some secrets need to come out. Some people need to pay. Sleep well. Tomorrow's a big day. The number went dark again. I knew it would. Whoever they were, they wanted to stay hidden. Maybe I'd never know. Maybe it didn't matter. I finally fell asleep around 3 a.m. Dreamed of courtrooms and prison bars and walking away from everything that had been destroyed. When I woke up at 7, my phone was ringing. Patricia. It's happening, she said. FBI is moving now. Stay where you are. I'll call you when it's done. I got out of bed. Made coffee. Turned on the TV to a news station, even though I knew it was too early for this to hit the news. Then I waited. And waited. At 8:30 my phone rang again. Patricia. I answered on the first ring. We got them, she said. Both of them. Amber's in custody. Gregory's in custody. No complications. They never saw it coming. I sat down hard. What happens now? Now they get arraigned. They'll try to make bail, but with charges this serious and evidence of flight risk, the judge will deny it. They'll stay in custody until trial. Which, given the evidence we have, shouldn't take long. When do I have to testify? Not for a while. Months probably. But there'll be depositions. Statements. You'll have to go through everything again and again. It won't be easy. Easier than the alternative, I said. After we hung up, I sat in silence. It was over. The investigation. The planning. The performance. All of it was done. Gregory and Amber were sitting in jail cells right now, probably in shock. Probably turning on each other. Probably realizing that everything they'd planned had failed spectacularly. I should have felt triumphant. Victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone rang again. Gregory's mother. I almost didn't answer, but I knew I had to. Natalie? Her voice was confused. Scared. The police are here. They're saying Gregory is alive? That he faked his death? This doesn't make any sense. I know, I said softly. I just found out myself. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She started crying. Not gentle tears. Harsh, broken sobs. How could he do this? To you? To me? I mourned my son. I buried him. You didn't bury him, I said. That's the problem. I don't know who was in that casket, but it wasn't Gregory. She made a sound like her world was ending. Maybe it was. I have to go, she said. I need to process this. I need to understand. Call me if you need anything, I said, knowing she probably never would. I was tied to her son's crime now, a reminder of his betrayal. By noon it hit the news. Local station first, then national. Local man fakes death in insurance scheme. Sister involved. My phone exploded. Texts, calls, voicemails. Everyone who'd been at that memorial service yesterday, who'd cried over Gregory's memory, now learning it had all been a lie. I turned off my phone, closed the blinds, sat in the dark apartment and let myself finally feel everything I'd been holding back. Not grief. Not anymore. Just anger and relief mixing together into something I didn't have a name for. It was done. They were caught. Justice was coming. And I never had to pretend to be the grieving widow ever again. The media storm lasted a week. News vans parked outside my apartment. Reporters knocking on my door. My face on TV with captions like, "Widow discovers husband faked death," and "Sister betrayal shocks community." I stayed inside. Ordered groceries delivered. Ignored phone calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Jerome hired security to keep reporters off my doorstep. Patricia handled press inquiries. Ms. Harris is cooperating fully with authorities and requests privacy during this difficult time. Ms. Harris. My maiden name. I'd started using it again immediately. Dropped Gregory's name like the burden it was. Natalie Harris. The woman I'd been before I met him. I was going back to her. On day 8, the news cycle moved on to someone else's tragedy. The vans left. The reporters found new victims. I could finally breathe. Yvonne was the first person I let into the apartment. She brought wine and chocolate and didn't ask questions. Just sat with me on the couch while I told her everything. I knew something felt off, she said when I finished. The way you were acting at the memorial. Too controlled. Too perfect. I thought maybe you were on medication or something. I was acting, I said. The performance of my life. You should have told me. I could have helped. I couldn't risk it. If you knew, you might have acted differently. They were watching. Listening. Everything had to look real. She squeezed my hand. You're the strongest person I know. You know that, right? I didn't feel strong. I felt hollowed out. But I smiled anyway. The next step was rebuilding. Not just my life but me. The person I'd been for 7 years was built around Gregory. His schedule. His preferences. His needs. Who was I without him? I didn't know. So I started exploring. I joined a gym. Not one of those intimidating places with bodybuilders and protein shakes. A small studio that offered yoga and kickboxing. The kickboxing felt good. Hitting something felt good. I started taking on freelance graphic design work again. I'd quit my job during the grief period, but I needed something to do. Needed projects. Needed to create something that was mine. The first few clients came through Yvonne's connections. Small jobs. Logo designs. Website headers. But word spread. I was good at this. I'd forgotten how good. Within a month, I had more work than I could handle. Within 2 months, I was making more money freelance than I had at my old job. I redecorated the apartment. Everything that reminded me of Gregory went into storage or got donated. New couch. New dishes. New paint on the walls. Bright colors instead of the neutral tones Gregory preferred. Turns out I liked yellow. Liked turquoise. Liked my space feeling alive. My lawyer, Patricia, became something like a friend. We met for coffee once a week to discuss the case but also just to talk. She told me about her divorce 5 years ago. How she'd rebuilt herself from nothing. You're doing it right, she said. Focusing on yourself. Not jumping into another relationship. Taking time. I don't think I want another relationship, I said. Not for a long time. That's healthy. Trust your gut. My gut had been wrong about Gregory. Wrong about Amber. But maybe it was learning. 3 months after the arrests, I ran into someone at a coffee shop. Literally ran into him. I was walking backwards while on my phone, and collided with someone carrying 2 large coffees. I'm so sorry, I said, watching coffee splash on the floor. No problem, he said. I've got terrible spatial awareness anyway. He was smiling. Kind eyes. Late 30s maybe. Wearing work clothes. Paint-splattered jeans. Construction boots. We cleaned up the mess together. The barista knew him, made fresh coffees immediately. He insisted on buying mine too, even though the collision was my fault. I'm Derek, he said, handing me a cup. I'd shake your hand but mine are covered in coffee. Natalie, I said. And same. We ended up sitting together. He was a contractor renovating a building down the street. I told him I did graphic design. Kept it simple. Didn't mention dead husbands or jail. You should give me your card, he said. I might need a logo for my business. Been putting it off forever. I gave him my card. Didn't think much of it. Just a professional connection. But he called 2 days later. Asked about logo designs. We met at the same coffee shop to discuss ideas. Then met again to review drafts. Then again to finalize everything. I feel like I should just pay you a retainer to hang out with me at coffee shops, he said after the third meeting. This has been the easiest business decision I've ever made. Happy to help, I said. Can I ask you something personal? I tensed. Sure. Are you single? There it was. The question I'd been avoiding thinking about. It's complicated, I said. I was married. He died. Except he didn't actually die. He faked it. Long story. Currently in prison. So technically I'm married but also not really married? I need to file for divorce but haven't gotten around to it. Derek stared at me. That's the most interesting thing anyone's ever said to me in a coffee shop. Yeah. My life's been a disaster lately. Sounds like it. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm better off. He nodded slowly. Okay. Different question then. When you're ready, whenever that is, would you want to get dinner? Not coffee. Actual food. No business talk. Just two people eating and talking. I should have said no. Should have said I wasn't ready. Should have protected myself from more potential pain. But he had kind eyes. And I was tired of being afraid. Give me your number, I said. When I'm ready, I'll call you. He wrote it on a napkin. Old-fashioned. I like that. I didn't call him for another month. Spent that time in therapy, talking through trust issues and betrayal and how to know when someone's lying. My therapist was practical and no nonsense. Didn't coddle me. You're never going to have guarantees, she said. People can lie. People can hurt you. But you can't live your whole life afraid of that. You'll just be alone and bitter. Maybe alone and bitter is safer. Safer isn't the same as better. So I called Derek. We went to dinner at a small Italian place. Talked for 3 hours. He told me about his divorce from 5 years ago. His 2 kids who lived with his ex-wife. His business struggles and successes. I told him about Gregory and Amber. The whole story. Figured if it scared him off, better to know now. It didn't scare him off. You're kind of a badass, he said when I finished. You know that. I'm just someone who got tired of being a victim. No. You're someone who refused to stay a victim. There's a difference. We started seeing each other. Slowly. Coffee dates. Dinner dates. Walking through the park. Nothing physical yet. I wasn't ready for that. He didn't push. Just showed up. Was consistent. Answered his phone. Did what he said he'd do. Revolutionary concepts, apparently. The trial date got set for 6 months out. Patricia said it would probably be continued, delayed. These things took time. Gregory tried to contact me from jail. Letter after letter. I threw them away unopened. Didn't care what he had to say. Amber tried to. Asked to see me. Asked if I'd visit. Asked if we could talk. I never responded. You don't owe them closure, Patricia said. You don't owe them anything. She was right. I owed them less than nothing. 4 months after the arrests, I officially filed for divorce. Grounds: fraud, abandonment, imprisonment. Pretty clear-cut. Gregory didn't contest it. What could he say? The divorce was finalized in 30 days. Fastest divorce in history, probably. I got everything. The apartment. The savings. All of it. Gregory got a prison cell. Fair trade. I kept designing. Kept building my business. Started hiring other designers. Turned it into a real company. Harris Design Studio. My name. My work. My success. Derek met my friends. Met Yvonne, who grilled him like he was applying for the FBI. He passed her test. That meant something. I met his kids. 2 girls, ages 8 and 10. They were shy at first. Unsure of this new woman in their dad's life. I didn't try to be their mother. Just tried to be someone nice. Someone they could trust. Slowly they warmed up. Life wasn't perfect. Some days I was angry. Some days I mourned what I thought my marriage was. Some days I wanted to scream at the universe for putting me through this. But most days were okay. Some days were good. A few days were even great. I was learning to be happy again. Learning to trust again. Learning that not everyone was like Gregory and Amber. Most people, it turned out, were just trying to do their best. Just trying to be good. Just trying to not hurt the people they loved. Novel concept. Pretrial motions stretched on for months. Every time we thought we had a court date, Gregory's lawyer would file something new. Request to suppress evidence. Request to separate trials. Request to move venues. All denied, but it ate up time. They're stalling, Patricia explained during one of our regular meetings. Hoping you'll get tired. Hoping witnesses will disappear or forget details. Standard defense tactic when the evidence is overwhelming. I'm not getting tired, I said. I know. But they don't know that. Amber got a different lawyer than Gregory. Smart move on someone's part. Their interests weren't aligned anymore. Both were trying to throw the other under the bus. Jerome showed me transcripts from their separate interrogations. Amber claimed Gregory had manipulated her. Said she didn't know about the fake death until after it happened. Said she was scared of him, feared for her safety if she didn't go along. All lies, proven by the text messages and emails we had. Gregory claimed Amber planned everything. Said she was the mastermind. Said he was the victim of her scheming. Also lies. Let them turn on each other, Patricia said. Makes our job easier. I focused on my life. My business grew. I hired 3 more designers and rented small office space. Brought Yvonne on board to handle client relations. She was perfect at it. Charming. Organized. No nonsense. Derek and I fell into an easy rhythm. Dinner twice a week. Movies on weekends. His kids stayed over every other week. I taught them basic graphic design. They taught me about whatever kids were into these days. Some game with blocks and mining. I didn't understand it, but I tried. You're good with them, Derek said one night after the girls had gone to bed. They're good kids. They like you. That means a lot. I wasn't trying to replace their mother. Wasn't trying to be anything except present and kind. Turns out that was enough. Gregory's mother stopped calling. Stopped trying to maintain contact. I understood. How do you reconcile loving your son with knowing what he did? Some puzzles don't have solutions. Yvonne and I took a trip to Miami for a design conference. 3 days of workshops and networking. First vacation I'd taken in over a year. We sat on the beach one evening watching the sunset, drinking something fruity with too much rum. You seem happy, Yvonne said. Really happy. Not fake happy. I am, I realized. That's weird, right? After everything? Not weird. Human. You survived something terrible and came out stronger. That's what strong people do. I don't feel strong. You never do when you're the one being strong. That's how it works. The trial date finally got locked in. No more delays. 8 months after the arrest, we were going to court. Patricia prepped me for testimony. We practiced for hours. She played the defense attorney, asking horrible questions designed to shake me. Isn't it true you wanted your husband dead? No. Isn't it true you were having an affair? No. Isn't it true you're doing this for revenge, not justice? No. I'm doing this because they committed crimes. Multiple crimes. And they need to face consequences. Over and over until my answers were automatic. Until nothing could rattle me. Jerome testified at pretrial hearings. Presented all his evidence. The recordings. The photos. The financial records. The defense tried to poke holes, but there were no holes to poke. Everything was airtight. Medical examiner Russell Hobbs took a plea deal. Testified against Gregory and Amber in exchange for reduced charges. He'd served 2 years for accepting bribes and falsifying documents. Could have been 10. Tom Preston, the fake financial advisor, also took a deal. 3 years. He gave up everything. Bank accounts, offshore holdings, the whole scheme. Everyone was flipping. Nobody wanted to go down with the ship. A week before trial, Derek asked if I wanted him there in the courtroom. You don't have to, I said. It's going to be ugly. All the details coming out. Everything they did. I know. But I want to be there. If you want me there. I thought about it. Thought about sitting in that courtroom alone except for lawyers and strangers. Thought about facing Gregory and Amber without support. I want you there, I said. He showed up every day. Sat in the back. Didn't try to talk to me or distract me. Just was there. Present. Solid. Patricia said jury selection would take 2 days. She was wrong. Took 4. Everyone had opinions about insurance fraud. Everyone had been lied to by someone. Finding unbiased jurors was nearly impossible. But they found 12 people. 7 women, 5 men. Mix of ages and backgrounds. They looked at me with curiosity and pity when I walked in. I didn't want pity. Wanted them to see me as someone who'd been wronged and fought back. Someone strong. Patricia said I'd be testifying on day 3. After they set up the case. After they walked the jury through the evidence. I could barely sleep the night before. Kept running through answers. Kept imagining Gregory's face when I told the truth. Derek stayed over. Didn't try anything. Just held me while I stared at the ceiling. "You're going to be amazing," he whispered. "They're going to see exactly who you are. What if I mess up? What if I say the wrong thing?" "You won't. You've practiced. You know the truth. Just tell it." The morning I was supposed to testify, I got another text from the unknown number. First one in months. "Truth is a weapon. Use it well." I never did find out who'd been sending those messages. Didn't matter anymore. They'd been right from the beginning. Truth was a weapon. And I was about to use it. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. You see these grand spaces in movies, but real courtrooms are just rooms. Fluorescent lights. Uncomfortable chairs. American flag in the corner. Nothing dramatic. But what was happening inside it? That was dramatic enough. Patricia stood up when the judge called my name. The prosecution calls Natalie Harris. I walked to the witness stand on legs that felt disconnected from my body. Placed my hand on the Bible. Swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Like I'd tell anything else at this point. Gregory sat at the defense table. First time I'd seen him in person since learning he was alive. He looked different. Thinner. Jail jumpsuit instead of his usual business casual. Hair longer, unkempt. He stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Anger? Regret? Fear? I didn't care which. Amber sat at a separate table with her lawyer. She wouldn't look at me. Kept her eyes down like if she didn't make eye contact, none of this was real. Too bad. Was very real. Patricia started with easy questions. My name. My relationship to the defendants. How long I'd been married to Gregory. Take us through the morning of April 15th, she said. When you first learned about Gregory's supposed death. I told them everything. The police at the door. The shock. The grief. Planning the funeral. Every detail. When did you first suspect something was wrong? Patricia asked. I didn't suspect anything at first. I believed he was dead. I was destroyed. So what changed? I received a text message. From an unknown number. It had an address and told me to check the backyard window. I almost ignored it. But something made me go. And what did you find? I found my husband. Alive. In my sister's kitchen. Having wine. Celebrating. The jury leaned forward. This was the good part. The moment everything shifted. What did you do? I recorded them. I stayed hidden and I recorded them talking about the insurance money. About how I'd never suspect anything. About their plan to steal everything from me and disappear. Patricia played the video. The courtroom went silent. Everyone watched Gregory and Amber toast to my stupidity. Watched them laugh about the fake funeral. Watched them count money that wasn't theirs yet. When it ended, several jurors looked angry. Good. What did you do after recording this? Patricia asked. I hired a private investigator. Built a case. Gathered evidence. I couldn't just confront them. I needed proof. I needed to make sure they'd face real consequences. Why not go directly to the police? Because I wanted to understand the full scope of what they'd done. I wanted every piece of evidence. I wanted them to have no way out. Gregory's lawyer objected. Said I was showing bias. The judge overruled. Facts aren't bias. Patricia walked me through everything. The investigation. The fake death certificate. The bribed medical examiner. The staged accident. The offshore accounts. The fake financial advisor. Every detail. Every crime. Every lie. Then came cross-examination. Gregory's lawyer stood up. Middle-aged man. Expensive suit. Shark eyes. Miss Harris, isn't it true you wanted out of your marriage? No. Isn't it true you and Gregory had been having problems? Every marriage has problems. We were working through them. Or I thought we were. Isn't it true you stood to gain financially from his death? I suppose. If he'd actually died. But he didn't die. He faked his death to steal from me. There's a difference. You hired a private investigator instead of going to police. Why? I explained that. I wanted all the evidence. Or did you want to control the narrative? Make yourself look like the victim when really you were the architect of this entire scheme? Patricia objected. The judge sustained. The jury looked annoyed at the lawyer. Victim blaming wasn't playing well. He tried a few more angles. All failed. The evidence was too clear. The video too damning. There was no defense that worked. Amber's lawyer didn't even cross-examine me. Smart. Nothing she could ask would help her client. After I stepped down, they called Jerome. He testified about the investigation, showed financial records, proved the conspiracy. Then Russell Hobbs, the medical examiner. He explained how Gregory paid him $15,000 to falsify records, how they used a homeless man's body, how he justified it to himself as victimless. The jury looked disgusted. Tom Preston testified next, the fake financial advisor. He admitted the whole scheme, how they planned to drain my accounts and disappear, how he'd done this before with other victims, how Gregory and Amber found him through illegal channels. Day after day, witnesses, evidence. The prosecution built their case brick by brick until it was a wall Gregory and Amber couldn't climb. The defense tried. They really did. Gregory's lawyer claimed he'd been coerced by Amber, that she'd threatened him, that he was afraid for his life. Then they played recordings of Gregory planning the fake death, of him laughing about it, of him talking about what he'd do with the money, all from before Amber was fully involved. Their defense collapsed. Amber's lawyer tried the opposite, claimed Gregory manipulated her, that she was a victim too, that she didn't know the full plan. Then they showed emails where Amber researched fake deaths, where she found the medical examiner, where she planned the celebration after the funeral. Her defense collapsed too. On day 7, both sides rested. Closing arguments were scheduled for the next day. That night I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Just paced my apartment while Derek sat quietly letting me process. What if they get off? I said. What if the jury believes them? They won't. The evidence is overwhelming. Patricia's been perfect. You've been perfect. This is done. Nothing's done until the verdict. Then we wait. Together. Closing arguments were powerful. Patricia stood in front of the jury and told them a story. My story. How I'd loved and trusted two people who saw me as nothing but a mark. How they planned to destroy me for money. How I'd refused to be destroyed. This isn't about revenge, she said. This is about justice. About two people who committed serious crimes and need to face serious consequences. Insurance fraud. Conspiracy. Identity theft. Forgery. Bribery. The evidence is clear. The crimes are proven. Now it's your job to hold them accountable. Gregory's lawyer gave a weak closing about reasonable doubt and coercion. Nobody looked convinced. Amber's lawyer talked about manipulation and being led astray. Also unconvincing. The judge gave instructions. The jury left to deliberate. And we waited. I sat in a conference room with Patricia and Derek, drinking bad coffee, watching the clock. Every minute felt like an hour. How long do you think? I asked. Could be hours. Could be days. Depends on the jury. It took 6 hours. When the call came that they'd reached a verdict, my heart nearly exploded. We rushed back to the courtroom, packed in with everyone else. Media. Spectators. Gregory's family. People who'd come to watch justice happen. The jury filed in. Nobody looked at the defense table. That was a good sign. Patricia had told me that. When the jury won't look at the defendants, it means they're about to convict. Has the jury reached a verdict? The judge asked. We have, Your Honor. On the charge of insurance fraud in the first degree, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud? Guilty. On the charge of identity theft? Guilty. 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 12 counts total. Guilty on every single one. For both of them. Gregory's face went white. Amber started crying. Their lawyers asked for bail pending sentencing. Denied. Flight risk. They'd stay in jail until sentencing, which wouldn't happen for another 2 months. Procedures. Protocol. All the ways justice moved slowly. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. Patricia gave a statement. I stood next to her, silent, letting her speak. Justice was served today. 2 people who thought they could destroy an innocent woman's life for financial gain have been held accountable. We're grateful to the jury for their service and attention to this case. Reporters shouted questions. I didn't answer any. Just walked to Derek's car and let him drive me home. In the car, I finally let myself feel it. Relief. Victory. The end of something horrible and the beginning of something new. You did it, Derek said. It's over. Not until sentencing. But the hard part's over. They're convicted. They're going to prison. You won. I won. Except it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. There's a difference. But surviving was enough. More than enough. I'd made it through. Sentencing day felt different than the trial. Less theatrical. More final. This was the end of the story, not the middle. I wore a blue dress. Not black. Black was for mourning and I wasn't mourning anymore. Blue felt like moving forward. Like sky and water and open spaces. Derek drove me to the courthouse again. Held my hand in the parking lot before we went inside. You have to give a victim impact statement, right? He asked. I can. Patricia says I don't have to. But I want to. What are you going to say? The truth. What they took from me. What I got back. The courtroom was less packed than during the trial. Just lawyers, family, a few reporters. The media had mostly moved on to fresher scandals. Gregory and Amber were brought in separately. Both in prison jumpsuits. Both looking like they'd aged years in the past 2 months. Gregory still wouldn't look at me. Amber glanced over once. Her eyes were red. Empty. She'd lost everything. Her freedom. Her reputation. Her family. Mom wouldn't even come to the sentencing. Couldn't bear to see both her daughters on opposite sides of justice. The judge called the court to order. Judge Miriam Okafor. Black woman in her 60s. Reputation for being tough but fair. No nonsense. Perfect for this case. We're here for sentencing in the matter of State versus Gregory Mills and Amber Harris, she said. Both defendants have been found guilty on multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and related crimes. Before I pass sentence, does the victim wish to make a statement? Patricia nodded at me. I stood up. Walked to the front. My hands shook but my voice stayed steady. Your Honor, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Natalie Harris. Gregory Mills was my husband for 7 years. Amber Harris is my sister. My only sibling. I looked at them. Gregory stared at the table. Amber watched me with tears streaming down her face. These two people didn't just commit fraud. They didn't just steal money. They stole my sense of reality. My ability to trust. My belief that the people closest to me actually cared about me. Deep breath. Keep going. Gregory made me believe he was dead. I grieved for him. Genuine, painful grief. I planned his funeral. I comforted his mother. I cried myself to sleep thinking about all the years we'd never have together. And he was alive the whole time. In my sister's house. Laughing about how stupid I was. My voice cracked but I didn't stop. Amber held me while I cried. She told me everything would be okay. She helped me plan the memorial service. And the entire time she was planning to rob me blind. To take everything my grandmother left me. Everything I'd worked for. She looked me in the eye and lied. Over and over. With a smile. The courtroom was silent. They thought I was weak. Thought I'd never figure it out. Thought even if I did, I'd be too destroyed to fight back. They were wrong. I turned to face them directly. I'm not weak. I'm not destroyed. I survived you. I built a life without you. A better life. I'm successful. I'm happy. I'm surrounded by people who actually love me. While you both sit in prison, I'll be out there living. That's my justice. I turned back to the judge. Your Honor, I ask that you sentence them to the maximum allowed by law. Not for revenge. For accountability. So they understand that actions have consequences. And so other people who might think about doing something like this know the cost. I sat down. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. Derek gave me a small smile from the back row. Gregory's lawyer asked for leniency. Talked about Gregory's difficult childhood. His gambling addiction. His mental health struggles. All the reasons he deserved mercy. Judge Okafor listened without expression. Amber's lawyer did the same. Talked about Amber being led astray. Being manipulated. Being younger and less experienced. All excuses. The judge wasn't buying any of it. I've reviewed the evidence extensively, she said. I've read the pre-sentencing reports. I've considered the impact on the victim and the severity of the crimes. These were not crimes of passion or desperation. These were calculated, premeditated crimes designed to destroy another person's life for financial gain. She looked at Gregory. Gregory Mills, you faked your own death. You used a deceased homeless man's body. You bribed a government official. You committed insurance fraud. You conspired to steal from your wife. You showed no remorse until you were caught. For your crimes, I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You will pay full restitution to the insurance company and to Ms. Harris. You will have no contact with the victim for the rest of your life. 15 years. Gregory's face went even whiter. His lawyer started to object but the judge held up a hand. I'm not finished. She turned to Amber. Amber Harris, you betrayed your own sister. You helped plan and execute this fraud. You attempted to steal her inheritance. You showed no remorse. You deserve no leniency. I sentence you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. Same restitution. Same no-contact order. 12 years. Amber broke down. Full sobbing. Her lawyer put an arm around her but she shook it off. This court is adjourned, the judge said. Guards came to take them away. Back to prison. Where they'd stay for over a decade. Where they'd have plenty of time to think about what they'd done. Gregory finally looked at me as they let him out. I couldn't read his expression. Didn't care to try. Amber mouthed, "I'm sorry," through her tears. Too little. Way too late. I stood up and walked out of the courtroom. Reporters waited outside but I didn't stop. Patricia handled them while Derek and I went to the parking garage. In the car I finally let myself cry. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Exhaustion tears. It's finally over tears. Derek let me cry on his shoulder without saying anything. Just held me while I shook. "They're going to prison," I said when I could speak. "It's really over. It's really over. 15 years. 12 years. That's a long time. That's appropriate time. For what they did." I pulled back. Wiped my face. "I need to go home. I need to sleep for about a week. I'll stay with you. If you want." "I want." We drove through the city. Same streets I'd driven down for months during the investigation and trial. But they looked different now. Lighter. Less heavy with anxiety and anger. At home I changed into comfortable clothes. Made tea. Sat on my yellow couch with Derek next to me. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. "You were incredible today. The judge was impressed. Justice served." Text from Yvonne. "Saw the news. Are you okay? Call me when you can." Text from the unknown number. One last message. "You're stronger than they ever deserved. Be happy." I typed back, "Thank you. For everything. For the first warning. For believing I could handle this. I wish I knew who you are." 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. Then, maybe someday. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. What matters is you're free. The number went dark for the last time. I showed Derek. Still don't know who's been helping me. Does it matter? Not really. They were right. I'm free. Freedom felt strange. For months I'd been focused on the case. On justice. On making sure Gregory and Amber paid for what they did. Now that it was done, I had to figure out what came next. What came next was life. Real life. The kind where you make plans and build things and trust people and take risks. The kind where betrayal is possible but so is love. Scary. Exciting. Both at once. "What do you want to do now?" Derek asked. "Right now? Sleep. Tomorrow? Start living." I like that plan. We sat together while the sun went down. Didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Just existed in the same space. Safe. Solid. Real. Gregory and Amber were in prison. They'd be there for a long time. When they got out, I'd be a different person. Stronger. Happier. Living a life they couldn't touch. That was my revenge. Not their suffering. My thriving. And I was going to thrive. 6 months after sentencing, I stood in my new office looking at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. Harris Design Studio had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. 10 employees now. Major clients. Projects across 3 states. My name on the door. My company. My success. Built from the ashes of destruction. Built from the ruins of lies. Built by me. Yvonne walked in with coffee and a grin. "Your 2 o'clock is here." The hotel chain wanting a full rebrand. Potential 6-figure contract. "Give me 5 minutes." She left. I took those 5 minutes to breathe. To remember where I'd started. To appreciate how far I'd come. A year ago, I'd been planning a fake funeral. Grieving a husband who wasn't dead. Trusting a sister who was robbing me blind. Living in complete delusion. Now I was here. Strong. Independent. Running a successful business. Surrounded by genuine people. Dating someone who showed up consistently and didn't lie. Revolutionary concept. Honest people exist. Derek and I had been together for 8 months. Taking it slow. No rush. His daughters spent weekends at my apartment sometimes. We cooked together. Watched movies. Played board games. Normal family stuff. Normal felt incredible after the chaos. We hadn't said "I love you" yet. Both of us were cautious. Both had been burned. But it was there. Growing. Real. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. The hotel meeting went well. They loved our pitch. Signed a contract that would keep us busy for the next year. After they left, the team celebrated with champagne someone had stashed in the office fridge. To Natalie, Yvonne said, raising her glass. Who built this company from scratch and doesn't take nonsense from anyone? Everyone cheered. I felt my face heat up. Praise still made me uncomfortable. Working on that. That evening I drove to the gym. My kickboxing class had become a routine. 3 times a week. The physical release helped. Punching away stress and trauma and residual anger. After class, sweaty and exhausted in the best way, I checked my phone. Text from Derek. Dinner at my place? Girls want to show you something they made. I smiled. Typed back. Be there in an hour. At Derek's house, his daughters met me at the door. Both talked at once about a science project they'd worked on. Something about volcanoes and chemical reactions. I listened, asked questions, let them be excited. Derek cooked pasta while I helped the girls set the table. Domestic. Simple. The kind of evening I'd thought I wanted with Gregory but had been living a lie. This was real. This mattered. After dinner, after the girls went to bed, Derek and I sat on his back deck with wine. Stars overhead. Quiet suburban night sounds. Peaceful. I got a letter from my lawyer today, I said. Amber's requesting early release. Good behavior. Prison programs. All that. How do you feel about that? I don't care. Whether she's out in 10 years or 12 doesn't change my life. She's out of it either way. No contact. None. Restraining orders permanent. She can't call, can't write, can't come near me. Same with Gregory. Good. We sat in comfortable silence. I'd learned silence with Derek wasn't uncomfortable. Wasn't something to fill with nervous chatter. Just was. Can I ask you something? He said eventually. Sure. What do you want? Long term. For your life. I thought about it. Really thought. I want to keep building my business. I want to create beautiful things. I want to be surrounded by honest people. I want to be happy. Not fake happy. Real happy. The kind that comes from inside, not from outside validation. That's good. That's healthy. What do you want? Similar things. I want my business to grow. I want my kids to be okay. I want someone in my life who gets me and doesn't play games. He looked at me. I want you in my life. If you want to be in mine. My heart did something complicated. Fear and hope mixing together. I do, I said. Want to be in your life. I'm just scared. Of trusting. Of getting hurt again. I know. I'm scared too. But I think we have something worth risking scared for. He was right. We did. Okay, I said. Let's risk it. He kissed me. Soft. Sweet. No pressure. Just present. I kissed him back. Life kept moving forward. Projects finished. New clients hired us. The business grew. I hired a business manager to handle operations so I could focus on design work. The thing I actually loved. I bought a house. Small. 2 bedrooms. Backyard with a garden I had no idea how to maintain. But it was mine. Not an apartment I'd shared with Gregory. Mine. Derek helped me move in. His daughters picked out paint colors for the guest room. Yellow and turquoise. Bright and happy. Like my new life. I visited Mom for the first time in months. She'd been caught in the middle of everything. Her daughters on opposite sides. She looked older. Tired. But she hugged me tight. I'm sorry, she said. For what Amber did. For not seeing it. For everything. It's not your fault. She was my daughter. I should have known. She fooled everyone. That was the point. We had lunch. Talked about safe things. My business. Her garden. The weather. Avoided talking about Amber. Maybe someday we could. Not yet. That night, Derek came over to the new house. We ordered pizza. Sat on the floor because I hadn't bought living room furniture yet. Laughed about me being a successful businesswoman who didn't own a couch. I love you, he said. Casual. Like he'd said it 100 times. I froze. First time he'd said it. You don't have to say it back, he added quickly. I just wanted you to know. I love you too, I said. And meant it. Really meant it. He grinned. Kissed me. We ended up staying up late talking about the future. Moving in together eventually. Maybe. His girls' reactions. Timeline. Being careful but also being brave. A year to the day after Gregory's fake death, I woke up in my own house next to someone who loved me. Sunlight through windows I'd picked out. Yellow walls I'd chosen. Life I'd built. I thought about where I'd been. Sitting in my old apartment watching the world end. Thinking I'd never be okay again. I thought about the journey. The investigation. The trial. The victory. All of it. I thought about Gregory and Amber in prison. Paying for their crimes. Learning consequences. Living with what they'd done. and I felt nothing. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Not anything. They were part of my past. Not my present. Not my future. Just something that happened. Something I survived. Something that made me stronger but didn't define me. I was defined by what I built after they tried to destroy me. The business. The relationships. The happiness. The trust I'd rebuilt slowly and carefully. That's who I was now. Not a victim. Not even a survivor. Just me. Natalie Harris. Designer. Businesswoman. Girlfriend. Friend. Person who refused to let betrayal make her bitter. Derek stirred next to me. Opened his eyes. Smiled. "Morning," he said. "Morning. What do you want to do today?" I thought about it. About all the possibilities. About the life stretching out ahead of me. Full of potential. Full of hope. "Live," I said. "I just want to live. I can work with that." We got up. Made breakfast. Talked about nothing important. Laughed at something on TV. Planned the weekend. Normal things. Beautiful things. Out there somewhere, Gregory and Amber were waking up in prison cells. Eating prison food. Living with locks and guards and consequences. I was waking up in my own house. Free. Happy. Surrounded by love. I won. Not because they lost. Because I chose to build something better than revenge. I chose life. Real life. Honest life. Beautiful life. And that life was just beginning.